Sportsmen are often accused of being overpaid, and F1 drivers are not immune from that criticism. While hard work should be rewarded, it is clear that not all athletes are paid the same. One person's success can see their income skyrocket compared to another. With that being said, let us take a look at the 15 highest salaries, excluding bonuses and sponsorship, of F1 drivers in 2022. 15. Alex Albon. The star is set for a breakout year after finally bouncing back to become a main driver for Williams in the upcoming 2022 F1 season. Prior to that, he was a reserve driver for none other than Red Bull. Such a promotion should be celebrated, and it is no surprise that he has seen a boost in his earnings. In comparison to the previous season, Alex will earn himself a handsome $2 million. When speaking about his knowledge as a test driver, Alex believes his expertise could be crucial. He remarked, "It will be important to use the knowledge I've gained this year and use it to help them develop the car at a quicker rate next year." Hopefully, he justifies that pay packet. 14. Pierre Gasly. Next up is Frenchman Gasly. The 25-year-old will be plying his trade with AlphaTauri after having been with the team for 2 years. His confidence will be running high on the back end of securing his only F1 Grand Prix win at the 2020 Italian Grand Prix. And given that so much faith has been put into Pierre, his earnings have been matched to reflect that. He will pocket himself more than double what Alex Albon will be getting with $5 million. I wouldn't mind a share of that. Franz Tost, who happens to be the boss of AlphaTauri, has backed Pierre to do big things. He stated, "He has fantastic potential. What's important is I have still the feeling he can improve, because that's decisive then if you are on this level. If we provide him next year with a competitive car, he will be there 100%. Following a good performance, his salary could get even higher." 13. Esteban Ocon. Esteban's career has involved a lot of sacrifice and upheaval. His parents had to give up a lot to support their son's career. Selling their house and changing jobs were just some of the things they had to do. But by believing in their son, they managed to provide a solid support network that allowed their son to flourish. And so it showed, as Esteban managed to make his parents proud by winning the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix. By doing so, he managed to beat Lewis Hamilton in the process. Just like Pierre, he has been rewarded with a salary of $5 million for his efforts. Following his victory, he paid homage to his parents. He remarked, "It's so much emotion. You have a flashback once you cross the line. Throughout all my career, my family, everything we've been through. You remember the sacrifices you've made. It's pretty special. Let us hope he can do bigger things." 12. Lando Norris. The British man is still pretty raw compared to the other drivers, but he has already managed to earn himself a good living. With a salary of $5 million, he has financially secured himself for the rest of his life, despite being at the age of just 22. And yet, money was not exactly something at the top of his list of priorities, given what his family had managed to achieve. Specifically, his father Adam Norris is a former pensions manager, and in the process of that job, he managed to become one of the wealthiest people in Bristol, England. So much so that his father was in the top 1,000 richest people in the country. When he was asked about his father's background, Lando downplayed the significance of it. He stated, "I don't really like to talk about it, but compared to Lance Stroll, my father is not nearly as wealthy." It is alright for some. 11. George Russell. George is set for his own journey this year. He joins Mercedes as the teammate for Lewis Hamilton. Putting yourself against an all-time F1 great is certainly a test for anyone. And for George, it is justification for all the hard work that he has managed to put in over the years. After standing in for Hamilton at the Sakir Grand Prix following his positive COVID test, his impressive performance in qualifying as well as the race earned him acclaim. And it is not surprising to see that his $5 million salary will allow him to learn from Hamilton. But rather than just being there to make up the numbers, Russell is there to do some serious damage. In the run-up to the new season, he stated, "Obviously, I want to be a winner. I want to be a world champion, and we spent the whole time at the back of the grid. 2020 was a stronger year, but it wasn't enough for us. 2021 was a stronger year, but it was never enough. Let us see what he is made of." 10. Sergio Perez. After a series of drivers tied on $5 million salary, it is only poetic that starting with a top 10 driver in terms of earnings bucks that very trend. With an annual salary of $10 million, the Mexican will be able to afford as many tacos as he could want, providing he wishes to do so. But on a much more serious note, he won his first ever race at the 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix, and after following that up with another success last year by winning the 2021 Azerbaijan Grand Prix, it looks as though Sergio is worth every penny. And yet an anonymous source doubted his ability to bring in big bucks. If you deduct Perez's salary from the sponsor's amount, only $3 million are left. For that money, your whole car will be under with the Mexican sponsors, he revealed. It seems a bit harsh though. 9. Lance Stroll. Driving for an Aston Martin naturally brings the corniest of comparisons to James Bond, but when it comes to looking at the secret agent himself, he does have a few similarities to James Bond. He is of mixed heritage, combining Canada with Belgium, which does give him an air of mystery. And after having worked his way through the ranks, starting off in Formula 4, he recorded an impressive 13th position last season. And breaking into that top 10 is certainly something that he is hoping to achieve this year, which is why he has been rewarded with an annual salary of $10 million. But after having failed to win any races last year, with 6th position being his best at the Qatar Grand Prix, his eyes are set on bucking that trend this year. When asked about the importance of money, he once said, "Money can't buy wins." He is right indeed. Skills pay the bills. 8. Valtteri Bottas. Alfa Romeo's Valtteri Bottas is hoping to follow in the footsteps of the great Finn driver Kimi Räikkönen. After growing up in his native Finland, it was clear to see that he was destined for a career in Formula 1. He famously remarked that if it was possible to drive on the roads of Finland, which is often covered in ice, then it is possible to drive anywhere. It was only fitting that he would go on to replace Kimi as head driver for Alfa Romeo in the upcoming 2022 F1 season. And with a $10 million salary, his boss will be hoping that he can justify such a fee. And on the issue of money, he has always been an advocate for equal pay amongst male and female racing drivers. He commented, "It's not about the money, but about the equality. Doesn't men and women work equally hard to try and win this race?" Bottas will have a lot of supporters for that. 7. Carlos Sainz. Born and bred in Madrid, Spain, Carlos comes from a city that is bred with a rich sporting history. He has already learnt from the best, given that he joined alongside Max Verstappen for Toro Rosso in 2015. The latter would go on to do great things after having managed to secure his first Formula 1 world title in 2021. And Carlos will be hoping to follow in the same footsteps after having secured 4 podiums last year. A nice Ferrari car, coupled with $10 million wage, is about to sweeten the deal. 6. Charles Leclerc. As we move up the ladder, it is not surprising that the salary naturally increases. Charles will be commanding an impressive $12 million on the back end of a great performance last season. He finished the season with 561 points, and in the process of doing that, he secured 13 podium finishes. While that was impressive in itself, the very fact of the matter is that he would have been hoping for more wins after only managing to have secured 2. If he can put pressure on the likes of Hamilton and Verstappen, then there is no doubt that he can command a sizable salary. He is often backed to be one of the names to win the title. One commentator stated, "If I was a gambling man, I'd put money on Ferrari opting for Leclerc next season." Let us see. 5. Daniel Ricciardo. As we break into the top 5, the competition starts to get really serious. Daniel secured victories last season with an immaculate 32 podium finishes in the process. The Australian will be hoping to better the performances of his countrymen in yesteryear by hoping that he can outdo his Mark Webber and win a world title. Outside of Formula 1 titles, he has already written himself into history as one of Australia's best racers. A salary of $15 million is not bad either. He once bet with his team's boss, Cyril Abiteboul, that if he got a podium finish, then Cyril would be required to get any tattoo that Daniel told him to get. He does put his money where his mouth is. 4. Sebastian Vettel. Vettel has already made enough money to last a lifetime with a reported net worth of $140 million and a salary of $15 million. His period of dominance from 2010 to 2013, in which he won 4 consecutive world titles, was enough to secure his financial future. That is why money is not the most important thing in his life. There are some things that you can fulfill with money, but at the end of the day, these are not the things that make you happy. It is the small things that make life good, he once said. 3. Fernando Alonso. The Spaniard does not exactly need much money, as evidenced by the purchases he has made. He is so well off, in fact, that he has his very own cycling team. And on top of that, you can add a real estate portfolio worth around £130 million, with properties ranging from Switzerland, Dubai and the UK. After having walked away from the sport initially in 2014, he did decide to make a comeback. The 2021 season was not the greatest in the world, but he did manage to secure a third-place podium finish in Qatar. But a $20 million salary will dampen those blows. 2. Max Verstappen. The racing driver had the most successful season in his career when he walked away with the Formula One world title last year. In doing so, he managed to prevent Lewis Hamilton from setting a world record 8 world titles. While he is still some way off achieving that, the very fact of the matter is that he is one of the favourites to defend his title. The 21st placed podium finishes he achieved last year will be hard to match, but with a $25 million salary, he will be in the best possible mood to beat that. 1. Lewis Hamilton. It is not surprising to hear that the 7-time world champion is the highest earner in the 2022 Formula One season. With an impressive annual salary of $40 million, Lewis will be hoping that he can pay off that trust and faith with a record 8th title. His attitude to racing is best summed up with the following. Knowing that you're driving a multi-million-dollar car and if you crash it, it's going to cost a lot of money and they might not give you another chance is scary. So, do the drivers deserve their salary? Let us know in the comment section and don't forget to subscribe for more F1 content.